Real Madrid snatching a PSG star for 130 million euros? The truth behind Rodri's contract refusal at City? A clash with the boss or something more? Donnarumma ditching League One for the Premier League? And Sancho's future finally decided? All that and loads more in today's episode. But before we get into it, as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Ready? Let's jump into the latest transfer rumors. Pep Guardiola isn't running around in a panic just yet, but he's got good reason to be worried. Rodri, his main man, has suddenly started thinking, do I really fancy a new deal at City? And he's not pondering this on a beach somewhere, but right this second, while the club is desperate to tie him down until 2029. And his current deal, by the way, runs till 2027, so there's no massive rush. So what's happened to make him think twice? Real Madrid, that's what. When the biggest club in the world comes knocking, it's hard not to be interested, especially when you're nearly 30 and know this is likely your last big payday in Europe. And what a coincidence, Madrid needs a holding midfielder. Rodri would slot in there perfectly. City aren't daft, obviously. They see the danger and want it sorted now. But Rodri's playing it cool. He knows the closer he gets to the end of his contract, the cheaper he gets. Transfermarkt already has him at a whopping 110 million euros. Imagine the price in a year with no new deal. It would be a proper bargain. On top of that, there are whispers that Perez is so keen, he might even chuck Camavinga and Rodrigo into the deal. Now that's when Pep will go from just panicking to having a full-on existential crisis. You know who else is having that kind of crisis? Me? Looking at my analytics. Over 80% of viewers watch the videos but haven't subscribed. To me, that's like Pep losing Rodri. The whole channel starts to wobble. Don't let the gaffer panic, lads. Support the structure and hit that subscribe button. Losing Rodri isn't just being one player down, it's the whole system collapsing. So we'll see. Will he still be a citizen next season, or will he be belting out the Bernabeu anthem? Time will tell. But if I were City, I'd be starting to get a bit twitchy. Jadon Sancho has cemented his legacy as a player whose imminent exit is a transfer window tradition, yet he remains a highly paid fixture at Manchester, acting like it's all fine. I mean, it's a sweet deal, a golden contract, no obligation to perform, and a club that can barely stand the sight of you. The ultimate paid vacation at £350,000 a week. The latest suitor is supposedly Juventus. The interest might be genuine, but the negotiations are a joke. Coffee, a couple of biscuits, and zero progress. Turin is stalling, United is praying for a few coins back from their investment, and Sancho himself is rumored to be utterly indifferent. A truly enlightened approach to this farce. A return to Dortmund remains on the cards, and frankly, it's the only logical outcome. They understand him. He actually thrived there, but even the sentimental Germans are balking at his astronomical salary. His loan spell was fine, but it ended with them looking at the bill and saying, "No, you're all right. All we can do is watch and see who cracks first, Juve, Dortmund, or Sancho, who, in theory, should want to kick a ball for a living, not just for a hefty bank transfer." It's a tale as old as time. The player is in demand, but nobody wants the financial baggage. United are desperate to jettison him. Sancho supposedly wants to play and clubs want him, but not for a fee that screams world beater. Does this ring a bell? Thought so. For United fans, just stop watching the news. Don't wait for insiders or a here we go. Just wait for the last day of the window, when some club in a blind panic finally clicks confirm. Savio to Spurs? You what? But get this, agents have already pitched him to the Londoners, and by the sounds of it, they've been binging his YouTube compilations. Spurs are open to a deal and apparently rate him highly. We all know what that means. They're keen but short on cash. The kid's only 21 and he's already come up through the City machine. Yep, via Troyes, you know the classic feeder club scheme. But now he's on 3 goals and 13 assists, and that's in a proper league, not the Championship. Savio got his chance because of injuries and started to actually make things happen. He's not the finished article, but a proper live wire. For Spurs, it's a no-brainer. Son's gone to LAFC, Richarlison might be off too, and they're lacking bite up top. Savio ticks the boxes, got pace, got tricks, and can pick out a pass. The big unknown is if City are actually prepared to sell. One good season is a bit thin, but if Spurs flash the cash, you never know. So, a spectacular falling out is brewing between Gianluigi Donnarumma and PSG, and shocker, it's all about the money. The Italian demanded a raise on what is, let's not forget, a €9 million a year salary. Paris said no. And what did our genius do? You guessed it. He started suggesting he had other offers and wasn't all that desperate to stay. But PSG, not forgetting how Milan got burned, moved quickly and, per ESPN, have already found his replacement, Lucas Chevalier. Donnarumma was effectively pointed towards the exit. Guys, a quick pause here for you to drop a like or a dislike on the video. Either way, it matters. Thanks for the support, it makes a huge difference. Then, the Italian has a sudden change of heart. You see, now he's prepared to stay, sit on his contract, and then swan off on a free next year. A familiar playbook, isn't it? The Parisians are incandescent with rage at the sheer cheek of it. They see right through him. Gigi is deliberately sabotaging his transfer value to make sure the next club's money goes into his pocket as a juicy signing bonus, not PSG's. They've told him in no uncertain terms, "You will not leave for free." And against this backdrop, who should appear? Manchester United. With Andre Onana continuing his unique brand of goalkeeping, a change between the sticks is inevitable. Rumors say Donnarumma is desperate for the Premier League, with United his top choice. And PSG, just to end this nightmare, would let him go for a bargain 30 million. Compared to Onana, he's a gargantuan upgrade. But the real question is, does United need another diva with sky-high demands? Although after Pogba, what could possibly surprise them? Nicolas Jackson's story at Chelsea appears to be reaching its logical conclusion. The Senegalese forward is, by all accounts, actively pushing for a transfer with a clear priority: to remain in the Premier League. It seemed the striker was just beginning to find his feet under Enzo Maresca, but the arrivals of João Pedro and Liam Delap have drastically changed things. Jackson instantly found himself a step behind in the club's attacking hierarchy. And yes, there is demand for him. There have been rumors of Serie A interest, with AC Milan and Juventus mentioned. Additionally, according to media reports, even Bayern Munich made an inquiry, considering him as temporary cover for the injured Jamal Musiala. However, according to The Sun, the player himself has no desire to leave England. Chelsea's board has set a price of £70 million, or ideally £80 million, a figure that could certainly deter potential suitors. The club is under no immediate pressure to sell him on the cheap. Jackson's contract runs for another 8 years, making Chelsea's negotiating position rock solid. Nevertheless, the player himself seems to have made up his mind. Fabrizio Romano and other sources report that Jackson has already informed the club of his desire to leave on a permanent basis, not on loan. According to Romano, it is all over between the player and the club. Newcastle are currently considered the main contenders as they search for a replacement for Alexander Isak. But if the Magpies switch to other targets, the forward has other options: Tottenham or even Bayern. Ultimately, the player's fate will likely be decided closer to the end of the window. The only questions are who will risk such a sum and whether Chelsea are prepared to lower the price. The saga of Ter Stegen and Barcelona appears to have taken another sharp turn. Just recently, we heard the club had stripped the German of the captain's armband and wasn't opposed to parting ways with him, all because the keeper refused to sign a document concerning his prolonged recovery, which would have helped the club register new signings. This, it said, simply infuriated Laporta and the entire board. Well, now everything has changed. The club reports that Ter Stegen has, after all, signed the necessary authorization. The disciplinary case is closed, and with immediate effect, the player is once again the team's captain. So there we are. Incidentally, the armband had a brief stint with Araujo, but apparently for only a few hours. It seems Ter Stegen and Laporta managed to find some sort of compromise. On what terms, I wonder? Perhaps he was promised he could see out his contract? In general, though, this is classic Barca. First they buy players, then they figure out how to register them, extending the Pole's contract without resolving the issue with their main keeper. It's as if they're doing everything backwards. We all understand this whole surgery story is simply the German's reaction to the club's actions. He knew that if he didn't do it now, there was a fair chance he'd be pushed out of the team. So he was covering his back, so to speak. Had Barca made it clear he was definitely staying, even if he lost his starting spot, it's unlikely Ter Stegen would have gone through with all this. Real Madrid have apparently thrown subtlety out the window, dropping a bombshell offer for Vitinha. And the fee? A massive 130 million euros. Yep, for the guy who moved to PSG from Porto and is now the absolute engine in Luis Enrique's midfield. His value already jumped from 30 to 80 million, and now Madrid are putting 130 on the table. And there's a reason for it. We all know Real's midfield is a weak spot, to say the least. Everyone's been talking about it, so getting Vitinha is a serious power move. Of course, you could argue 130 million is crazy money, but try telling that to PSG. A club with endless cash isn't going to sell their key player for a bargain. A complete waste of time. But here's the thing, an offer from Real Madrid can make any player's head spin, and turning them down is famously difficult. So, you never know, Vitinha himself might start making noises about wanting a move, especially with the Mbappé situation still fresh. Paris Saint-Germain will not let another top player walk for free. There is one problem though. The Portuguese star just signed a new contract until 2029, making things very tricky for Madrid. So, here we go again. Another huge transfer story. Trying to persuade PSG to sell a key player is a waste of time. You know what's even harder? Getting a person who's watched 10 of my videos to finally hit that subscribe button. I'm Real Madrid with a great offer, and you're PSG saying, nope, we'll think about it. Come on, let's make a deal.